Hey guys, welcome to another preview video for the upcoming Magic the Gathering expansion, Guilds of Ravnica. Today is September 11th, 2018. We've got quite a few cards to get to, some translation cards, so take those with a grain of salt. But we got a lot of really fun cards to get to, limited, sealed, and standard, as well as some other cards that might break their way into other formats. So let's go ahead and get into it. But before we do, make sure you get subscribed to the channel. Head over to youtube.com/72DPI online. Get subscribed. If you're already subscribed, consider giving us a comment telling us what kind of cards you're looking to open, and what guilds you're looking to play at your pre-release. I'm really kind of excited to play with these cards, and we're kind of just ramping up in preview season. So let's go ahead and jump on in with our first set of cards here. We did get today the spoiled of the guild gates. This time around, though, there is actually two sets of them. So you have one of each with this color or this artwork, and then there's like a closer up version of the guild gates. Now they did something similar to this in the Return to Ravnica with the Shocklands, but or no, maybe it was the guild gates that they did this with, where one of them was further away from the entrance, and the next set had the closer up version. But these are all from the same one. There's 20 of them, or 10 of them, obviously, because there's five total, then 2 of each color pair. So it is what it is. We're just going to kind of keep on trucking, though. So first up, we've got some Boros cards, red and white cards. We've got Blade Instructor as a 3/1 for 1 white and 2 generic human soldier at common, and it just simply has Mentor. So whenever this creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature with less power. So if you're playing Boros at your pre-release, you're really going to have to kind of pay attention and stack these mentor abilities correctly, so that you don't kind of mentor your way out of a +1/+1 counter. So just remember, the first one in is always the last one out. So the first ability that you put on the stack is always the last one to resolve. So keep that in mind when you're stacking these mentor abilities up. When you got 2 or 3 of these guys going at once, you don't want to miss out on those +1/+1 counters, because they're all super close in power and in power, at least. So it's going to be a rough ride. So we'll see. Goblin Crater Maker is next. This is a 2/2 for 1 red and 1 generic uncommon Goblin Warrior. Its activated ability is 1 generic, sacrifice him, and you get to choose one. You can have him deal 2 damage to a target creature or destroy target colorless non-land permanent. This is one of those cards that might be played in older formats, because it gets rid of some of the heavy hitters, Karn and like Emrakul and things like that, the really hard to kill finishers in the modern format. So I could see this sneaking into a Goblins deck sideboard in some point in time. As for standard, blowing up, some of the permanents that the artifacts that are kind of pigeonholing people, as far as the artifact cards that you just can't get rid of. This is a great way to kind of fill out your goblin deck. It's 2/2 bear. It's got a relevant ability. The pay 1, sacrifice them, and deal 2 damage to target creature. It's a great way to kind of get rid of something that's on the board that they're not attacking with, or a utility creature, mind you. So it's all right. We'll see. As far as limited is concerned, it's probably not going to be that great. It's on curve. It's unfortunate it only deals 2 damage to target creature, but it's a decent early removal spell. 3 mana for 2 damage is. It's not the best. It's not the best conversion, but when you couple that with a 2/2 body, so if you can get in for 2 damage and then on turn 3 sacrifice him, or I guess it would be turn 3 attack with him, turn 4 sacrifice him. So Either way, Runaway Steamkin is next. This is a 1/1 for 2 mana, 1 red, 1 generic rare elemental. This is an interesting card. At first glance, I was like, no, that's just way too much work. But as I'm like kind of thinking it through, this ability it's pretty unique. So whenever you cast a red spell, so that could be an instant, sorcery, creature, any red spell, enchantment, whatever. If Runaway Steamkin has fewer than 3 +1/+1 counters on it, put a +1/+1 counter on Steamkin. So it kind of builds itself up to a 4/4, and then it actually could go. If it has fewer than 3, so it builds it up to a 4/4, and then what do you do with those +1/+1 counters? Well, I'm glad you asked. You remove 3 of them. You remove all 3, and you get to add 3 red mana to your mana pool. Simple as that. Now, obviously, there's different ways of adding +1/+1 counters in this format. For instance, you've got Blade Instructor here. You can target this creature, Runaway Steamkin, with a Mentor ability. So there's a way to kind of buff it up without casting red spells. But I have a feeling, that's a limited type of thing. If you open up, if you're going red, white, Boros, or even this would even work in Jeskai maybe, but is it because of adding +1/+1 counters on spells? But in Boros, it works particularly well because of the ability Mentor. So when you're mentoring, you can get more than 3 +1/+1 counters on it, but its activated ability, its static ability, where it gains +1/+1, only happens when there's 3 or less. So keep that in mind when you're trying to time out your spells and mentor attacks and things like that. So getting the extra mana is a great way to finish a game. When you're on like turn 6 or whatever, and you can ramp up to 9 mana and cast your heavy hitters. Basically fill out your board, cast your rares or whatever, your bomb rares, your game-ending cards. This is a great way to kind of catch your opponent off guard. And yet, 2 mana for a 4/4 is really not that bad of a deal. So looking forward to playing with it. Really am. Let's see here. Next up, we have some blue cards here. Guild Summit is next. It's 2 generic and 1 blue for enchantment at uncommon. And when it enters the battlefield, you may tap any number of untapped gates you control. Draw a card for each gate tapped this way. That's all right. I mean, you're paying 3. Obviously, if you play this on turn 3, you're not going to get anything, right? But it does have a second ability. Whenever a gate enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. So you're getting a little bit of value on turn 4. This would probably be more suited for like a late game, fill your hand back up, like a turn 7, turn 8 type of thing, where you can afford to pay 3 mana and tap your guild gates down. And the thing is, it doesn't. It just counts gates. They don't have to be guild gates, because there's a couple. We'll see here in a little bit. There's a couple other gates that are in the actual set itself. So it's a great way to draw cards. I mean, I guess if you didn't have anything else to play on turn 3, you could play this card and then just round out. Turn 4, if you've got a gate, draw a card. But you're really. I mean, this is a really janky build around me card, right? You've got. You're having to slow your deck way down because of you're playing with gates that come into play tapped. So it's kind of a catch-22. If you're more control Magic, then this might be a thing. Refilling your hand, draw cards. The 3 most popular, most powerful words in Magic: draw a card. So. But what's better than drawing a card is drawing 2 cards. Chemist's Insight is next. It's an instant at uncommon for 3 generic, 1 blue. It simply says draw 2 cards. But it also has the new ability Jumpstart, which is in my opinion, the better version of Kicker, because you can discard a card from your hand in addition to paying any other cost. So you discard a card and you pay 4, and then you draw 2 more cards. So not too shabby, uncommon card. Definitely play. In sealed, you're gonna want to play 2 of these for sure to help build your deck out and get through your deck quicker. Just an all around good card. Let's see here. Next up, we've got a foreign card. We've got Nightveil Sprite. Is a fairy rogue. It has flying. It's a 1/2, and its ability is whenever she attacks, surveil 1. This is a really good card. It has the 2 defense, which is nice. They could have very easily made it a 1/1, but the 2 defense is really nice. It gets flying, which is great. So it's got evasion. It's inexpensive, so it's going to get in those early hits. If you've got a way, I know we don't have Azorias yet, blue white. So Mentor might be a difficult thing. If we can get some red Mentor creatures, you might be able to smash this in with Izzet cards and really kind of make a hodgepodge deck, because I know this is supposed to be a Dimir card, but I mean, surveilling in any deck is going to be worth your time, and a flyer, if you're in blue, a flyer is what you're looking for, especially in limited. So sealed, this is, or not sealed, standard, this is not going anywhere. So next up, this is probably one of my favorite cards. I'm really looking forward to playing with this. It's Beast Whisperer. It's 2 green, 2 generic for a rare, 2/3 elf druid. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. This one's going to be interesting. This is going to be a huge skill test for people, because dropping this on turn 4 is the wrong decision, right? You want to be able to drop this and then play a creature and then draw and get your card draw right then and there. And the other thing you have to remember is it's whenever you cast a creature spell. So you've got 2 different things here. You got one thing working for you, one thing working against you. Number one, it's casting a creature. So that doesn't mean if it gets countered, you still get to draw your card. Now, it's not whenever a creature enters the battlefield. So like when you're casting spells that create 1/1 creatures and put them on the battlefield, those aren't casted creature spells. I know there's a little bit of a hiccup there, but at the end of the day, this green card draw is hard to come by. So make sure you play this responsibly, because you play it on turn 4 and they're going to target it immediately. If they've got some way to kill this thing, they're going to, because they know this is how you're going to draw your cards. This is how you're going to win the late game. So limited, great card. Sealed, it's going to be interesting. I would probably play this in my dinosaur deck. It would just depend on how many dinosaurs I have at that lower curve. But green, again, there's a lot of fun green things to play. This is going to be a huge Golgari spell for sure. Let's see here. District Guide is next. It's a 2/2 for 3 mana Elf Scout at uncommon. When he enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card or a gate card, reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle your library. Again, 2/2 for 3 is kind of rough. It guarantees that you got a gate, though, and a land on your next turn, which is, hitting your 4-drop is a good thing. Obviously, if you're searching up for a gate, some color fixing, but turn 4 you're only gonna have 3 mana because the gate's gonna come and play tapped, and you're still gonna be behind. So it's a good limited card. It's card search with a body. So it's nice that you don't have to search the top 4. It's literally find a land, grab it. Keep in mind, if you play this on turn 4 and search for a land, you'll be able to put the land, play that for your land for the turn. So keep that in mind when you've got this and another 3-drop in your hand. Play the one that matters the most. Nullhide Ferox is next. This is a very interesting card. It's a 4 mana, so it's green, 2 generic, mythic rare beast, 6/6. It has hexproof, and you cannot cast non-creature spells. So it's an interesting. It's an interesting ability. It does have an activated ability. It's 2 of anything, loses all abilities until the end of turn. Any player may activate this ability. So obviously your opponent can pay that and get rid of the hexproof and the non-creature spells, but that comes at a price, right? If they remove the hexproof, now you can all of a sudden cast non-creature spells, or you can pay it, and your benefit is being able to cast non-creature spells, but your 6/6 that you played on turn 4 is now vulnerable to removal. Now, the other thing, if a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard the Ferox, put it onto the battlefield instead of putting it into your graveyard. Wow. That's pretty good. I don't know I mean, obviously, if their target player discards a creature card, like that's that's like a no brainer. But like obviously, if they have a choice, they're not going to pick this. So I would drop this on turn 4 every time. Drop it on turn 4, then turn 5 you're attacking for 6. That's a win condition right there for sure. Let's see here. Next up, we have a couple more foreign cards. First up, we have an instant. This is Secret of the Mausoleum. This is a instant for 1 black, 1 generic. It's got Undergrowth. Search your library for a black card with a converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Reveal it, add it to your hand, then shuffle your library. At rare. So this is a pretty powerful spell, right? This is essentially for dredge players and graveyard players and Dimir players, even and Golgari players. This is you searching for anything. Like search for a black card with the converted mana cost of X. All right, fill your graveyard, search for your win condition, win the game. Right. So you'll play this every time. It's going to have a home in the Golgari deck for sure. It's just a matter of time. The other thing that I'm really looking forward to with the next release is how this card plays with Rakdos, because we all know that Rakdos is very aggressive and very self-inflicting, where like they have like a bunch of 3/1s and 2/1s and everything is gonna die. Like it's just attack, sacrifice, and you're just gonna fill up your graveyard, and this thing is just gonna and it's only costs 2. It only costs 2 mana. So whatever you search for, like let's say you've filled your graveyard up, and it's turn 5 or 6, right? You're going to be able to, turn 6, you're going to be able to search for something that's huge or a 4-drop or whatever and play it right then and there. Mana dorks are going to be a huge help if you're on the Golgari side. Unfortunately, red doesn't have a lot of the like the mana excel. I mean, they do have like that elemental and things like that. So you might be able to kind of crossbreed that in there. So it's going to be interesting once Rakdos comes into play. But I think Golgari is going to benefit from it as well. Next up, let's see here. We've got a creature, and it is Whispering Spy. This is a vampire rogue 1/3 for 1 black and 1 generic at uncommon. And it says when you surveil for the first time each turn, Whispering Spy deals 1 damage to each opponent and you gain 1 life. Not too bad, right? Not too bad at all. Good in two-headed giant. So this is going to be a great kind of twofer on two-headed giant players. So you'll gain 1 life, and then each opponent will lose 1 life. So the 2 heads will each lose 1 life. So it's nice because it has that extra defense, right? So it's not a 1/2 or a 1/1, which they definitely could have. But it's unfortunate that it's just the first time each turn. That's the unfortunate thing. Because if you could do it 2 or 3 times a turn, like this would just drain them out of the game. Absolutely. Next up, we have our first non-guild gate. This is Gateway Plaza. It's at common and enters battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless you pay 1 generic, and then you can tap it for any color of mana. This is just a functional reprint. We've had cards like this before in Ravnica and a couple. There's been 2 or 3 of these. It's not a reprint, but it's a functional reprint. We've got Deafening Clarion is next. This is a Boros card. It's a sorcery rare. 1 generic, 1 red, 1 white. You get to choose 1 or both. It deals 3 damage to target to each creature. So a little bit of a board wipe there. Not too bad. Each creature you control gains lifelink until the end of turn. I don't know why you wouldn't pick both. Especially if you're on like the attacking end. Obviously, if you're on the attacking end and you wouldn't, you just want the lifelink, you wouldn't pay 3 and wipe your board out. But if you're paying 3 to wipe a board out, I don't know why you wouldn't give your guys lifelink. So I don't know. It's an interesting card. I have a feeling it's just going to be used as like an Anger of the Gods type of thing. But at the end of the day, great card. It's going to definitely see standard play. Limited, you're going to play this every time. It's a premium removal spell, so it'll pull you into these colors, red, white. Obviously it's deal 3 damage to each creature, so you have to be cautious of your creatures as well. But it's board wipes are going to win games when it comes to limited. Artful Takedown's next. It's a Dimir card, so 2 generic, 1 black, 1 blue. Choose one or both. Tap target creature. Target creature gets -2, -4 until end of turn. Essentially, what this says is remove 1 creature and take care, and tap down 1 creature for the turn, and then attack. So get rid of the big thing with 4 defense and tap down your biggest thing that has more than 4 and swing. Swing. It is at instant speed, so you could very well catch your opponent off guard with this. Just make sure before attackers are declared that you cast this, because if they declare attackers, you cannot go back and tap down their creature. That is a lesson learned on my part very, very early on. Next up, we have Reign of Notions. This is 1 black, 1 blue, 1 generic sorcery. Surveil 2, you draw 2, and then you deal 2 damage to yourself. Read the bones to a T. Surveil, like I said, I've said time and time again, you're going to hear it all throughout preview season. I kind of like Surveil more than Scry. I know Scry was the original, and Scry, has got the nostalgia and things like that, Serum Visions, yada yada yada. But Surveil, I think it's going to be one of the most underestimated abilities in this set, in this format, both in sealed and limited and in standard. I think it's going to be a very, very underappreciated, underused. It's going to be the sleeper hit. I think I really do. I like this spell. It's really good. It's at sorcery speed, so you can't get too crazy with it. But you never know. Last up, we have Eyes. This is going to be a fun card to play with. 1 blue, 1 red, 1 generic, rare instant counter spell. So counter target spell, right? Creature, enchantment, non-creature, anything you want. Counters it, and then it deals 2 damage to that spell's controller. So you got a nice little shock in there. Counter spell, shock, all in one. Great for great for dealing that 2 extra points of damage. Control players, you're going to love this. Getting that extra 2 points of damage in isn't going to be a big deal. But it's just icing on the cake. Definitely icing on the cake. So, all right, guys, that is all we have for today. I really do appreciate you watching. If you made it to the end, make sure you give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe, do all the good things that help us get our word out there. Check us out on twitch.tv/72DPI online on Mondays. We do our Mana Drain podcast. That's where we talk all things Magic. We'll be starting back up here next Monday with some really fun topics to discuss and kind of go into some things that we missed over our little hiatus. So again, thanks for watching. Make sure you get subscribed, and we will see you guys tomorrow.